you write about logos and rhetorical analysis essays, do you know that you're cooked because all you can do is write "the speaker uses logos to seem logical" over and over, and you know that this is wrong, but you don't know what else to do? Does your friend Gwennifer write slay rhetorical analysis essays about logos because she can identify both the type of logical reasoning being introduced and why it's effective for these readers? Hi, I'm Dr. Clay Zuba, inventor of Zubafy. I've seen thousands of students write uses logos on their rhetorical analysis essays when logos isn't something you use. Logos is not a tool speakers possess. It's the rational thinking in their audience that they're trying to engage with through their specific rhetorical choices. By the end of this video, you'll write about logos as a precision tool that identifies specific logical strategies, explains why they work for this particular audience, and shows how they serve the speaker's persuasive purpose. Yes! Today, we're learning to write about logos for the rhetorical analysis essay on the AP Language and Composition exam. It's the third in a series that teaches writing about all three rhetorical appeals: ethos, pathos, and logos. In this video, you'll master what logos actually is, how to identify it in texts, and most importantly, how to write about it with the specificity that shows sophisticated analytical thinking. We'll be working from the same 2025 rhetorical analysis prompt about Raquel Vasquez Gilliland's essay, Go Outside, Sink Your Feet into the Dirt, that we've used in other videos in this series to see how speakers engage rational thinking through textual choices. Now, let's learn to write about logos like the analytical queens and kings that you are. Yes! You've probably already learned that logos is one of Aristotle's rhetorical appeals and that logos corresponds to logical reason. But logos is not something the speakers use or possess. Rational thinking lives in the audience's mind, not in the text. When you write about logos, if your instinct is to write some variation of "the speaker uses logos," then you're doing it wrong and also showing that you're thinking about logos all wrong. But that's okay. That's why I'm here. I can help. See, a speaker cannot use logos because logic isn't a tool. It's a mental process that happens in readers' and listeners' minds. This might seem minor, but if you're thinking this way, you're thinking about persuasion all wrong, and that's going to show up in your writing, and you need to shift your thinking right now. Speakers don't use logos. Writers don't use logos. They make specific rhetorical choices attempting to engage or activate the rational thinking processes in their audience. A speaker doesn't have logic to give you. They might present data, draw causal connections, or provide examples. All rhetorical choices designed to make you think logically about their argument. So you can see, the logos is in your mind, not in theirs. That's why your evidence or analysis for logos must identify both the textual choice and the specific type of reasoning it's designed to engage. Now, a speaker or writer can appeal to logos through several types of textual moves. Here are the main categories you should look for. Cause and effect reasoning, showing how one thing leads to another, establishing logical connections. Comparison and contrast, drawing logical relationships between similar or different things. Data and statistics, presenting numerical evidence that requires rational evaluation. Examples and illustrations. This is providing cases that demonstrate broader logical points. Finally, definitions and explanations, clarifying terms to establish logical frameworks. And a problem-solution structure. This is identifying issues and logically proposing remedies. When you spot any of these moves in a text, you found strategies designed to engage rational thinking. But identifying the strategy is just the first step. You also need to explain what type of logical thinking it activates, and why that matters. Here are some things you should never write though. The speaker uses logos. This appeals to logos. Gilliland is logical. This makes readers think logically. None of these statements makes any sense because a speaker makes rhetorical choices to appeal to logos and others rather than using it themselves. And logical is way too vague. What specific types of reasoning? For what purpose? Instead write, Gilliland establishes cause and effect reasoning by showing how soil nourishes plants that nourish humans. The author engages problem-solution thinking by acknowledging time constraints, then offering practical remedies. This comparison between urban isolation and natural connection activates readers' rational evaluation of lifestyle choices. See the difference? In these examples, you're identifying textual evidence and naming a specific type of logical reasoning that is designed to engage. Now, here's a step-by-step strategy for writing clocked logos analysis. Step 1. Identify the specific textual move designed to engage rational thinking. Point to exact reasoning patterns, data, examples, or logical structures in the text. Step 2. Name what specific type of reasoning it engages. Don't say logic. Say something like cause and effect, comparison, problem solution, data analysis, etc. If you don't know how to describe it, make something up and then just show your readers how it's rational in the rest of your paragraph. Step 3, explain why this reasoning strategy works for this specific audience. Connect the logical approach to what this audience values, how they think, or what evidence they find convincing. Step 4, show how engaging this reasoning serves the speaker's persuasive purpose. What does thinking through this logic make the audience more likely to believe or do? Step 5, connect to challenges in the rhetorical situation. Why does activating this type of reasoning help the audience overcome these specific barriers to their persuasion? Here's a sophistication boost. The best logos analysis shows why engaging this particular type of reasoning matters for this rhetorical situation and moves this audience towards the speaker's purpose. Say, are you enjoying this video? Are you also learning things? What? That's great. You should like and subscribe this. That way, you and others like you can continue to learn from Zubafy. Yes. Here's 3 examples of student writing, from cooked to clocked. Gilliland uses logos in her essay. She appeals to logic by giving examples and facts about nature, which makes her argument logical. The logos works because people use logic to think, and her examples are logical. By using logos, she makes readers think rationally, which helps persuade them to agree with her argument about going outside. This is completely cooked. It says, uses logos without identifying what type of reasoning. It describes examples as logical without explaining what logical processes they engage, and it shows zero understanding of how or why reasoning serves persuasive purposes. Here's a better example. Gilliland engages cause and effect reasoning through her explanation of ecological relationships. She writes that readers should consider the ways by which soil nourishes the plants and animals that in turn nourish us, showing a logical chain of mutual benefit. This cause-effect structure helps readers understand the practical connections between nature and their own well-being. By presenting this logical relationship, Gilliland makes her argument feel more rational and grounded. This is a lot better. It identifies specific textual evidence, names a specific type of reasoning, cause and effect, and attempts to connect it to persuasive effect. But it's still not explaining why cause and effect reading specifically works for urban New York Times readers or how it addresses their particular rhetorical challenges. This is clocked. Gilliland engages cause and effect reasoning and problem solution logic to counter urban readers' view of nature connection as impractical lifestyle advice. She instructs readers to, quote, consider the ways by which the soil nourishes the plants and animals that in turn nourish us, and acknowledges that, quote, our busy schedules can make it hard to find time, before offering, quote, several easy things you can do. Now, I just introduced 3 pieces of evidence in this one sentence, and that's really risky, because if you do that, you're going to have to analyze all of them. I'm going to analyze all of them. The phrase, consider the ways by which, activates analytical thinking, requiring readers to trace logical connections through a causal chain. The specific sequence, soil nourishes plants and animals that in turn nourish us, establishes interdependence through cause and effect logic. Each element causally depends on the previous one, culminating in human survival. For intellectually oriented New York Times readers who respond to data-driven arguments, this cause and effect reasoning transforms nature engagement from optional wellness practices into logically necessary behavior. If readers accept the causal logic that soil sustains their food chain, they must logically accept their dependence on ecological health. Gilliland's problem-solution structure, acknowledging our busy schedules can make it hard before providing easy things you can do, engages practical reasoning that urban readers value. The phrase busy schedules validates their time constraints as real objectives rather than dismissing them, while easy things and you can do establishes achievability through problem solution logic. This combined logical strategy overcomes skeptical readers' resistance by meeting them on their preferred intellectual terrain, making their argument through rational processes they trust rather than asking them to accept claims based on faith or feeling alone. Clock it! I'll admit that that was a lot, and it's probably more than you could reasonably write. But I just wanted to show you this totally clocked example to push you and make you see that you can really kind of write a lot about logos if you know how to do it. This example identifies specific textual choices, names precise reasoning types, and explains why these logical strategies work for intellectually oriented urban New York Times readers specifically. And it shows how engaging this reasoning serves the larger rhetorical purposes within the situation. Notice how the clocked paragraph makes copious use of textual evidence with reference to logical effects and the rhetorical situation. Okay, period. Watch out for these common traps. Mistake 1. Writing uses logos without explaining the specific textual choice or reasoning type. Now, one can use logos. One can only make rhetorical choices to appeal to logos and others. Mistake 2. Being vague about reasoning. Saying is logical instead of explaining cause and effect, comparison, problem solution, data analysis,
things like that. Mistake 3, not explaining why this type of reasoning matters for this particular audience in this particular situation. Mistake 4, forgetting to connect the logical strategy to the speaker's larger persuasive purpose. When you identify specific types of reasoning and show how they work within the rhetorical situation to serve persuasive purposes, you're demonstrating sophisticated analytical thinking. Yes. Remember, logos isn't something you use. It's rational thinking that speakers and writers try to engage through specific rhetorical choices about reasoning and evidence. In rhetorical analysis, your job is to identify those choices, name the specific types of logical thinking they activate, and show how engaging that reasoning in this specific rhetorical situation serves the speaker's rhetorical purposes. You've now mastered writing about all 3 rhetorical appeals with precision and sophistication. Yes. But you should still remember to like and subscribe so you continue to learn. Thanks for watching Zubafy. Come back for more Zubafy.